Most project governance problems do not start in the governance meeting. They start much earlier, when the numbers move, the plan changes, and nobody updates what happens next. Every month, most project teams need to move through the same basic cycle. First, they need to prepare the period and bring in the latest information. Then, they need to check what actually happened. After that, they need to update the plan based on what they now know. And finally, they need to review, prove, and close the position. Different teams have different names for this process. I call that Project Files Monthly Governance Rhythm. Control, confirm, correct, commit. It gives PMOs and finance and delivery teams a simple way to make sure that the right checks happen in the right order every month. So everybody knows what to expect and when to expect. In week 1, we control the period. We open the right reporting month, lock what should no longer move, and bring together the information needed to run the cycle. And in week 2, we confirm what actually happened. We reconcile actuals and timesheets, review resource and schedule movements, explain variances, and challenge whether current position is still credible. And that brings us to this week, the correct week. In the correct week, it is all about correcting what happens next. Because explaining the past is not enough. The key question is, based on what we now know, what needs to change in the future plans? So if I were responsible for project portfolio governance, I would be doing 7 things. First, I would update the remaining forecast, because if costs landed earlier or later than expected, the future profile needs to reflect that. And second, I would move costs where delivery has slipped. So if work has moved, the forecast should move with it. Third, I would realign resource allocations. If people are no longer available, or maybe they've moved to other projects or working on different dates, the resource plan and forecast needs to be corrected together, so they're all singing the same hymn from the same hymn book. Fourth, I will review scope and change impact. Any new work entering the plan should have a clear cost, resource, and schedule impact. Fifth, I would refresh risks, issues, and contingencies. If a risk is now more like, or an issue is already affecting delivery, that should be visible in the plan rather than left sitting in a separate register. 6, I would reassess the rack status. And finally, I would assign clear recovery actions, not vague commentary, an owner, an action, and a date. The forecast, resource plan, schedule, risk, and status should all tell the same project story. Because there is no value in explaining why last month went wrong if the future plan is still wrong. This is where many teams lose control. They explain the variance, write the commentary, and move on. Good governance uses what happened to correct what comes next. That is where the updated position is reviewed, challenged, approved, reported, and logged. It should be, are we prepared to approve this position? And what decisions do we need to make? That is the Project Files monthly governance rhythm. Control, confirm, correct, commit. A simple, repeatable way to keep project portfolio under control.